And we are back again. Okay, so slowly getting through it. It's about 10:30 at night. I don't know if I'm gonna get to Robbie's tonight. We'll see how I feel. I mean, he can wait. I don't really care. Sorry, Robbie, you can wait. But like, there's a game tomorrow, and I have other stuff on my mind. But I want to get this one out of the way at least because it's Vivian's team, and it's obviously this is weird circumstances. So like, let me just move my shirt around a little bit. So this was a weird one because like obviously everyone knows just like there wasn't Vivian drafting her team. She was on call looking after a child, and on a Sunday we were trying to figure out ways to like get her, and it just didn't work out. So it was up to me to basically draft her team in the kind of style that she would draft. So like it's weird for me to judge a team that I ran, but I didn't draft the way I would draft it, so to speak. So some of these picks are indicative of her. Some of them are more indicative of me trying to like think what she might do, and we'll go through it. Yeah. So first round, she took Kareem Hunt. Super big reach. He was not worth that pick. Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Saquon Barkley were my top five. Kamara was number 6. And then probably Hunt at 7. So I had Hunt as like the 7th best running back. We're taking him at 2. So if you were going to take Hunt, you shouldn't have taken the number 2 overall pick. You should have just pushed yourself back or something. I don't think you should be the 7th pick, but you could have been like 5 or, I don't know, 9 where I was, something. There was no reason to take him at 2, but if you really want him, fine. To his credit, he led the NFL in rushing last year, so I mean that was really good. But like he had a really strange season because like he came out of the gates, he was a monster game against New England, and for roughly about 4 weeks he was the best running back in fantasy. And well, actually more like 6 weeks. 6 weeks he was the best running back in fantasy. And then 7 through 12, he was like late. He was like maybe the 45th around there, best running back in fantasy. But then, weeks 14 through 17, last 4 weeks or so, he finished out the season strong, and he was a top 10 running back again. So it was basically a season of hot streaks and cold streaks. He got really hot, then he got pretty cold, and then he got pretty hot again. And all told, that made him like a top 5 running back in our league. So I think there's going to be some regression simply because like last year he got like 90% of the rushing attempts on that offense, and Spencer Ware's back from injury. Ware was actually supposed to be the starter last year before he went down, and then it was Hunt's job. So he's back. Do I think it's Spencer Ware's job again? No, absolutely not. Kareem Hunt looked fantastic last year, but could Spencer Ware vulture some touchdowns and carries? Yeah, absolutely. Because he's a good player. I mean, he's not bad. He's an average running back too, and Hunt needs a breather sometimes. So I think Hunt will come out of the gate strong. He plays the Chargers, and if I remember correctly, Chargers are really good against the pass, but also great against the run. But I mean, he's healthy, so that's important. He's got a good schedule. That's cool too. He's got a strong arm quarterback who should open it up for him, but will make mistakes. So Hunt's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I just felt there were better players, obviously, on the board. But like, if he's your number 1 running back, that's not bad either. So, second round. Okay. So now we're going into like Mike Evans. So like, Mike Evans is on my do not draft list for myself. I don't trust Buccaneers players, and even more so than anything else, like, I mean, I violated my own rules with Florida players this year. I took like Fournette and Keenan Cole and like Peyton Barber, and I probably would have taken Kenyon Drake. So that's like the 3 starting running backs for like all the Florida teams. But like, I don't like Mike Evans, and like, there's quite a few reasons why. But I mean, the short and long of it is like, as good as he might look, in some weeks, and he'll have like these big monster weeks where he just totally dominates. I don't feel they use him properly. Like, it's just, I don't think he had a single game last year over like 110 yards. I think he had 100-yard game the entire season. He scored touchdowns. He scored, I can actually look this up now that I have internet. He had 5 touchdowns. That's pretty all right. But he was like the 19th best wide receiver in fantasy. 19. So 19th best wide receiver in fantasy football last year. And I'm using a second-round pick on that guy. If I'm using a second-round pick on a guy, he needs to be top 10 in his position at least. He wasn't. And Winston's suspended the first 3 games. So there's one thing. Evans missed a game last year. Yeah, that kind of hurt his stats a little, but still. Excuse me. Sorry, it's late. But still, he wasn't built around your team number 1 receiver talent. The reason why I took him on Vivian's team is she had him last year. I figured he was the best player on the board at right there, and so I took him. I figured that's probably what she would have done because, like, I think, what was it? If I remember, she took him last year. At the 25th overall pick, so back into the second round. So, like, I took him even higher this year, but I don't like him personally, but I thought he was the best receiver. Yeah, so he went 25th. I picked him at like 27th for Vivian. So yeah, basically around the same place that he got drafted. He got drafted last year, maybe 2 spots lower, but still. And the next wide receiver on the board was Larry Fitzgerald, and Mike Evans has more, is in his prime. Larry Fitzgerald's pretty old right now. If I had to go on talent, I'd take Mike Evans, but do I love Mike Evans? No. Does Vivian love Mike Evans? I think so. He's been on her team. She seemed pretty happy with him. It's not like she traded him or dumped him or did anything with him. It's not like he's not talented. He's just on a bad team that doesn't know how to use him properly because the Bucs just are dumb. But not my pick, but I picked him for her. I know that's weird. But I can't pick people I love on someone else's team because that's not who they might not love. I have to kind of just assume it's just like, who would they like? Who would they pick kind of thing. And I think she would take Mike Evans because he was the best player on the board at his position. He's good. I think I hit out of the park with the next round. Next pick was 3rd round, Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill is a monster. Getting him as a number 2 wide receiver is fantastic. He doesn't get a whole lot of red zone targets, but I don't care because he's probably the fastest player in the NFL. He can break it from anywhere. If you give him a punt return, he could break it into a touchdown. He had that crazy reception against the Cowboys last year where they throw it 15 yards downfield and he gets 4 blockers in front of him and he just dodges the rest of the Cowboys defense right before halftime and scores a touchdown. That's the kind of talent Tyreek Hill has. That's the type of escapability Tyreek Hill has. He'll have some clunker games where he only gets a couple of receptions, but for the most part, he'll have these big monster games. And really, most of the time, I don't like Will Fuller because I don't think Will Fuller will get enough big catches, big time targets, big plays to really make it. Well, then why would I like Tyreek Hill? Well, because I think Tyreek Hill will. Tyreek Hill has the ability. If I throw him a screen pass, he makes a couple guys miss and he's gone. That's a touchdown. Is he going to make that on the weekly? I don't think so, but he's so good he could do that bi-weekly. I could see that, 8 touchdowns that way. He's just so incredibly gifted as a receiver, and while and while I don't think they use him as much as they should, with having like people like Alex Smith, he's like, oh, he was pretty accurate on his deep balls. No, those were mostly like 15-yard receptions and a lot of runs, yards after catch that became deep balls. Patrick Mahomes has a cannon. All right, he's got a huge arm. He can just absolutely unload a rocket, and he can throw it like 80 yards downfield. Well, you can throw it 80 yards downfield. Here is someone who can be 80 yards downfield. Like, they brought in Sammy Watkins, so that's another thing, I don't love, because I think Sammy Watkins is pretty talented. He was the number 1 receiver drafted in his draft class in 15. And OBJ was in that draft class, by the way. Jarvis Landry was in that draft class. That was a super stacked draft class, and Watkins went before any of them. But at the same time, like, I don't love that Watkins is on the team with Hill, because he's gonna take some of those targets, some of those big plays, and I don't like that. I wish Tyreek Hill got like a target share like AJ Green or Antonio Brown, where they threw him the ball a quarter of the time. He had a target share of a quarter of the time, he'd be the number 1 receiver in fantasy. Like, that's just my opinion, but he's just that good. But I mean, he's still, with the limited opportunities that he'll get, he'll still break it open every other week. He'll have a monster one play, and really, like, if you're going boom or bust, like, if you're going to bet on a guy having one big play, this is the guy to bet on having one big play. So I was very, very happy to get him in the 3rd round, because Robbie was just like, oh, I'm not going to take any running backs. I'm going to take me some Joe Mixon, Alex Collins. If taking Mike Evans wasn't great, taking Tyreek Hill was a home run. So I absolutely would take, like, I like me some running backs. I would take Tyreek Hill over Joe Mixon or Alex Collins every day of the week. Give me Tyreek Hill, because that guy can absolutely ball out. I don't care. I had Alex Collins on my team. I take Tyreek Hill. Okay, period. So, end of story. Now, that being said, having taken Tyreek Hill and Mike Evans in the 2nd or 3rd rounds, I know, I'm running her draft. I need to get a running back. Running back's important. I need a number 2 running back. If I have to reach for need, so be it. I need to do it. So, 4th round rolls around. So a lot of running backs taken before I have a shot to take Vivian's next running back. Carlos Hyde, Deion Lewis, Chris Carson, Rex Burkhead was taken much earlier. Kerryon Johnson, Mark Ingram, LaShawn McCoy. So a lot of running backs have been taken before this pick. And, Robbie had gone triple running back to start. So I knew he wasn't going to take a running back, but I figured I should take one anyway. Because, in case he did quadruple running back for whatever stupid reason, because Robbie's an idiot. So I took Isaiah Crowell. Do I love Isaiah Crowell? I think Isaiah Crowell is a talented player. I remember when he was at the University of Georgia, he was a 5-star top recruit, and it didn't really work out there. I know he went undrafted because he basically got injured and kicked out of school, so he ended up in the NFL, but he got kicked out of there. But he was still really talented. I think he was, talent-wise, he was good enough to play in the league. You watched him, you thought, hey, that guy's an NFL player. So he went to the Browns, the only team that would take a shot at him. And, the Browns went 0-16 last year, and they weren't any good. And Josh Gordon played, 4 games at the end of the season. And, they were trotting out guys like Corey Coleman, who's a free agent right now and still on Ryan's team, but not on an actual NFL team. And at wide receiver, and David Njoku's at tight end. He's super raw, and Deshaun Kaiser's the quarterback. Yeah, so Isaiah Crowell was basically the offense last year for the Browns. Now, that's not saying much. They didn't win any games. But, to say a guy is the best player on the team and he goes to another team, even if it's a bad, really, really terrible team, historically awful team, the guy has some talent. I mean, you can't not have talent to be the best guy on a team, best offensive player on the team at least. So he goes to the Jets. They sign him because they don't believe in Bilal Powell. Matt Forte retires. I think that the amount of usage he got last year with the Browns, I know the Jets don't really love Bilal Powell. I actually kind of like Bilal Powell. I think I think he could be a workhorse running back if you really gave him a chance. but they just don't seem to like really think that. So, and Elijah McGuire, who another was a rookie last year, and he was pretty good on the Jets. He's on IR right now. He's hurt. I know. He's on my team. He's sitting on IR. So it's the Isaiah Crowell show. And, like, Robbie Anderson had a good year last year, and Quincy Enunwa is a decent running back. And, like, but the Jets, kind of like the Browns last year, like, don't have a lot of talent. And they got a rookie quarterback now, and Sam Darnold, the youngest quarterback ever to start the season as the starting quarterback, 21 and a half years old. So, Crowell's going to get the ball. I felt a little bit forced to make this pick for Vivian, but that doesn't mean I don't think it was a good pick. I think Crowell, I don't love that he's on a team that's not great, but he's on a team that will run the ball, and he's on the team where he's, again, the best offensive player, so he's got to get the ball. I think he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's been working on that. I don't think he's absolutely excellent. But, last year he was like a top 30 running back. He was like 29th, I believe. And he was there every game. It's not exciting. It's not like wonderful. But I think he can average 8-9 points a game. I think he could be possibly a top 20 running back in fantasy. I didn't take him because I think he's outstanding. I mean, I took upside in Tyreek Hill. I took upside in like Mike Evans, even though I don't really like Mike Evans. I think this was a safer pick, but it was a necessary evil because you got to have running back depth. I don't want to be Joe. I'm not trying to compromise my team before the season starts. So I thought that was all right. And then back around it comes. All right, what would Vivian do? There were some players personally I would have liked to have taken myself on the board. Marcus Goodwood comes to mind. I like Demaryius Thomas. Marvin Jones is a good player. I took Corey Davis. I believe Jamal. We're not going to name Jamal Williams. I don't like Jamal Williams. I wasn't going to take Jamal Williams with this pick. But some of those other picks are picks I would have considered. But seeing what the board is and knowing who Vivian is and seeing that Aaron Rodgers has been taken already. And Russell Wilson just gets taken, and I think it's like Wilson had a really good year last year, and Rodgers is the number one fantasy quarterback, but he was on. This was the only guy among the 6 teams that drafted a quarterback in the first 7 rounds. So basically, the first 6 teams that took quarterbacks, only one of them made the playoffs. It was Vivian, because you took this guy, who's Tom Brady. I can't. Do I love taking Tom Brady in the 5th round? No, because I wait on quarterbacks. But I would say Tom Brady has a much higher chance of being a top fantasy quarterback than any of those other guys. He never gets hurt. He's super consistent. It doesn't matter who his receivers are. And he plays almost every game. So, yeah, it took Tom Brady. I think Vivian would have taken Tom Brady. Do I love Tom Brady? No. Is Tom Brady going to play 16 weeks for Vivian? Yeah. Because he's that good. I mean, you'd be stupid not to think that. He averaged 18.5 points last year. And so, the difference between him and Kirk Cousins is maybe a point, maybe half a point. I wouldn't even look. I don't even have the numbers pulled up, but it's not much. But if this is when quarterbacks are starting to go, and even if I personally like other picks on the board, again, I think this is what Vivian would have done. I think she appreciates Tom Brady. I think she likes having him on his team, and she had him on his, again, another player that was on her team last year who did very well for her. She had a playoff team last year, so it's not why break what ain't broken? So she can fix her team in free agency. As a starter on her team, I've picked 5 starters on the team. I think I did a good job. So, next. So we wrap back around. And, so now we're getting a little strategic here. So, yeah, I'm running Vivian's team. And, I'm going to try and pick the players Vivian would probably pick. But I'm not stupid either. I see over there Robbie's wasted his first 5 picks on no wide receivers. There are no wide receivers. Robbie thinks that Zach Ertz is a top 3 tight end again, and he thinks Russell Wilson's worth a 4th-round pick on. So, yeah, that's what I think of that. So, he's going to take wide receivers. I mean, it's clear as day. I mean, it's been pretty clear as day what he's been doing this whole draft. So, yeah, you kind of just telegraph that. So I'm the pick next to him. So, yeah, other players taking this round. I liked Mike Crabtree. I took Peyton Barber. Adrian Peterson went here. But, I'm surprised no one took this guy because he was pretty good last year in a passing offense. Same offensive coordinator. Same no rushing attack. So he was the best player on the board. It was pretty clear from that. And I've gotten 5 starters for Vivian's team up till now, so why not get the flex? Get the 6th starter. So I took Golden Tate, and I think Golden Tate's a good player. He was a top 20 fantasy wide receiver last year. He scored like 8.5 points a game, roughly. He's had over 1,000 yards 2 straight years. He's caught over 90-plus passes 4 straight years. Super consistent, good player. They throw the ball around the lot a lot. They throw the ball around the lot a lot because they can't run the ball. So, I mean, is Kenny Golladay possibly going to steal some of those targets? Yeah. Is Marvin Jones having a top 10 receiving season last year great for Golden Tate? No. But, I mean, just super consistent, healthy, in his prime, good player, best player on the board. Took him. Didn't think about it. Took him. I don't know if everyone would have taken him, but, if he's the best guy on the board, you got to take him. So he comes back around. All right, I've taken 6 starters for Vivian, right? So should I start working on the bench now, which is a Dylan thing? That's what I would do. Or should I be looking? Vivian usually likes to fill out her starting lineup before anything else. That's just what she does. So I'm looking at it, Robbie took Ertz 3 rounds ago. Wild. Kelsey was taken in the 4th round. I never even had a chance at him, so that wasn't going to happen. Delaney Walker's gone too. Someone's taking Kyle Rudolph in the last round. I think, yeah, Justin took Kyle Rudolph in the last round. So I'm kind of just not in love with anyone at tight end, but I'm zeroing in on a tight end. And Jordan Reed's there, and I don't like Jordan Reed. He cost me a championship. I'm just gonna say he cost me a championship. I don't care what anyone says. I can directly link it to him. He cost me that. I should have won that. That was mine. I'm not bitter. But all that being said, this isn't my team. He's if he's healthy guy, he's a top 3 player at his position. So he has Alex Smith at quarterback who loves to throw to tight end. Yeah. When Jordan Reed plays and is healthy and no one on the coaching staff is lying to you about his health, he's an excellent fantasy tight end. Will he stay healthy the whole season? I doubt it. Does that make this a bad pick still? I don't think so. I think he's a starter if he's healthy. When he's healthy, he plays. When he's not, you got to figure something out. It's no different from most other players. So, do I love Jordan Reed? No. Would I take Jordan Reed on my team? No. Was he the best player on the board at his position? Yes. I thought Vivian would try and fill up her starting lineup, so I took Jordan Reed. And then we come back around again, so this time it's going all the way to the back, and then back to the front. So now, I've filled out the starting lineup for Vivian. What am I doing next? I'm probably still trying to fill starters. I think that's what she would do. So I'm like, who's the best defensive player? That's easy. That's J.J. Watt. I mean, did he miss most of last year? Yeah, he did. Is Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald considered the best defensive players in football now? I guess you could say so, yeah. But is J.J. Watt still a beast when he's healthy? Yeah, he's still a beast when he's healthy. And if J.J. Watt becomes what J.J. Watt was, then he's the best defense player in football. I don't care what anybody says. He is. You just got to be healthy. I mean, the guy's broken his back a couple times, but he's still a beast. So, you know what? Let's just go for it. J.J. Watt it is. So we take J.J. And, Robbie's, he's just trying to fill up on those poor wide receivers that aren't very good now. Kenny Stills, let's get a slot receiver from Philadelphia. All right, Nelson Aguilar, sure. I filled most of the starters for Vivian. Maybe she would keep picking defense. I don't know. But I think that she would be like, okay, what do I need? What do I have? And by that point, I have three. I have a good flex. I have a good tight end. I've got a quarterback. Basically, the whole starting lineup's done. I can find linebackers. I need some depth. So who's the best back on the board? Best back on the board I could find. Giovanni Bernard. Is Joe Mixon the starter in Cincinnati? He is. He is the starter. Is Cincinnati's offensive line very good? No, it's not. Is Andy Dalton a good quarterback? No, he's not. Sorry, Sarah. Bengals aren't good. Is AJ Green going to suck up a lot of receptions? Yeah, he is. So why would I pick Giovanni Bernard? Well, to put it in layman's terms, I think while Joe Mixon is almost Le'Veon Bell-esque, Giovanni Bernard hasn't been hanging around for no reason. He can play. He'll get a few rushes a game, and he'll be the third down back, and he can catch out of the backfield. Do I think he's great? No, of course not. I mean, there's a reason he's this far low. But you got to draft depth. You can't just be like, I'm going to take the best player in every round. Like, you can't do that running back. You got to be like, all right, there are other players on the board that I like, but I need to reach for this because I need depth. So, you know what? I'm going to reach for this. I'm going to take some depth. So I took Gio. Next round. So, again, we're going back all the way to the end, coming back. All right, so who are the players taken? So we've gotten, Eric Berry's been taken, Harrison Smith, Jordan Poyer, a lot of defensive players now. So people are starting to catch up on my J.J. Watt pick. Okay, maybe we got one running back. I'd still like to get more, but what does the board look like? And so you look at it, and it's just like, you know what? I got three pretty good receivers. Maybe I'll get a fourth. And, that day they just handed out an extension to this guy, 3 years, $31 million, to Tyler Lockett. And he's the number 2 receiver on that Seattle offense. I mean, do I like Doug Baldwin on that Seattle offense? No. Do I love Tyler Lockett on the Seattle offense? Probably not either. Are they going to throw a lot, though? Yeah, they are. I think Lockett, he had a career high in targets last year. He had 5 games where he was double-digit fantasy point contributor guy because he scored some touchdowns. So he's a bit of a boomer bust kind of guy. But, if you draft a guy as your 4th wide receiver who can be a starter 6 out of 16 weeks for your fantasy team, that's a good bench piece. I mean, is that half the time? No. But, 6 out of 16 weeks, if I get a bye or injury, I can just roll this guy out and he could do something. Yeah, sure, go for it. Let's do it. So, took Tyler Lockett. And Robbie's doing the defense thing. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to do defense too. They would probably want a really good linebacker. Best linebacker on the board's easy. I had this guy targeted a couple rounds ago for her. It was Blake Martinez. The guy soaks up tackles. He is the best defensive player. People talk about Clay Matthews on that Packers defense because they remember that Super Bowl. That Super Bowl was 8 years ago. You know who the best defensive player on the Packers is? It's Blake Martinez because he tackles everything and everyone, and no one gets in his way. So I don't care what Clay Matthews does. 8 years ago, he won a Super Bowl because of Clay Matthews. It's been 8 years since then. Blake Martinez is the guy in Green Bay, not Clay Matthews. So go back around, round 12, I noticed no one's taking a kicker. Vivian likes to take her kickers. She wants to fill up her starting lineup. Who's the best kicker on the board? That's easy. Greg Zuerlein. He was excellent last year. I mean, maybe she would have taken Gostkowski, but Zuerlein was the best kicker last year. So we're not taking Gostkowski. We're taking the best kicker. We're taking Greg Zuerlein. Greg the Leg. So, yeah, I did that. Do I like taking kickers that high? No. No, I don't. You know how many games, like, Greg the Leg, though, missed, like, the last game of the season, the last 2 games of the season, and he was still the number 1 kicker by a lot. So I took Greg the Leg. I mean, if anyone wants to take a kicker, she usually takes a kicker in like round 8. The fact that I wait till round 12 to take the first kicker should illustrate to her, hopefully if she watches this video like ever, should illustrate you shouldn't take kickers that high because you can just get a kicker later. Like, I got the number 1 kicker in round 12. Stop taking kickers in the top 10 rounds. It's a waste. You're wasting picks. So I got the number 1 kicker. She would want that. I think she would want that. I don't know. Going back, working the draft. Robbie's still on his taking wide receiver fix thing. Take 2 receivers I don't like, so I don't care. And I mentioned earlier, I see him on the board. I like Bilal Powell. I don't understand why the Jets don't give him the number 1 backfield spot. I don't understand why they don't just make him the starter. I watch him play. I think he's a good player. Do I think he's amazing? No. But do I think he can play? Yeah, absolutely. But they don't seem to think that. So, but just in case something happens to Crowell or Powell again carves out a nice little niche for himself like he did last year, where he, even though he wasn't even a starter, he was still a top 30 running back at his position, averaging like almost 8 points a game because he could catch passes and he had a few like big games where he scored touchdowns in. He had 2 over 130-yard games. Like, give the guy a chance. But, who am I to say? So, just in case Bilal Powell suddenly usurps Isaiah Crowell, or I need someone on the line, or Crowell gets injured, God forbid, let's take Powell. That's a good. We'll take another running back, 4th running back, get a little depth, get someone who's got a shot at starting possibly, and is a handcuff. It's good. I'll take that. Goes back around. Vivian, I feel like, is going to want some defense. Who's the best safety on the board? Barry Church. Okay, we can take him. He was good for Jacksonville. He was got tackles. He missed a few games, but no, he didn't miss a few games. He just didn't have some very good games. But I think he's a starting safety in our league. So, let's take Church. All right. And then, I see comes back around. Robbie's finally off his wide receiver fix, and there's a wide receiver I kind of dig, and it's Devontae Parker. Do I love the Miami Dolphins? No. But the Miami Dolphins don't have Jay Cutler anymore, thank the Lord. Ryan Tannehill's back. Hopefully he's healthy. But they also traded Jarvis Landry, who led the NFL in receptions last year. And if you're going to tell me that Kenny Stills, who Robbie took all the way in the 8th round, is better than Devontae Parker, who I took for Vivian in the 15th round, then you're wrong. Then you haven't looked at the stats, or you've watched a single Dolphins game in the last 2 years. Devontae Parker has more upside than Kenny Stills. Devontae Parker not only looks the part, but he plays really, really well. I know he has a broken hand right now, so he's not gonna start opening day, and that's okay. But even if he's not great, someone has to catch passes in Miami. You have to throw the ball somewhere. Why not? Why couldn't it be Devontae Parker? What's to say he couldn't be the guy catching passes? So, I think Parker actually is a better player than Kenny Stills. I still don't really understand that whole, why the Dolphins picked up Kenny Stills. I mean, he was okay last year, but he's more of a big play threat kind of guy than he is a consistent catcher. Like Jarvis Landry moved the change. Kenny Stills runs the big plays, and Devontae Parker's kind of like that outside receiver who can do the comeback routes. Well, if we were to compare this to, say, the Texans, Will Fuller is the big over the top. He's Kenny Stills. And Jarvis Landry, I don't even know who the Texans like slot receiver is. But you know what? It'd probably be their tight end Ryan Griffin, who I like a lot. So we'll just assume it's Ryan Griffin because I know they cut Braxton Miller. It's someone. I'm forgetting someone as the Texans slot receiver. But you know who's comparable to the outside receiver who runs the comebacks? You know, that's DeAndre Hopkins. Well, that's Devontae Parker's role in the Miami offense. And that Miami offense is led by Adam Gase, who's the head coach. Adam Gase was offensive coordinator under Peyton Manning when they were throw, and they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, got blown out by Denver. But he's a good offensive mind, and I think they're really going to try and throw it. Yeah, okay, so Albert Wilson's the slot receiver in Miami. That's weird. But the point is, someone has to catch passes. You're not going to tell me Kenny Stills is going to soak up 10 passes a game that Jarvis Landry had. You're not going to tell me Albert Wilson is going to be like lead the league in receptions kind of game. It's Devontae Parker. The guy who's going to take a step forward is Devontae Parker. That's the correct answer because he has more talent than the other two guys. He has the role and he has the availability. And as a quarterback who needs a big receiver to throw to. So the answer is Devontae Parker. I don't know why he lasted this long. I don't know why Robbie took Kenny Stills so high, but not Devontae Parker. Doesn't make any sense. But I took him. So, cool. And then I figured Vivian would probably want to fill out that starting lineup, get that last linebacker to take the defense player. I took Demario Davis, top 5 linebacker last year. Had some really good games for the Jets, and now he's in New Orleans, which is a little weird, but New Orleans needs help at linebacker, so cool, let's do it. So took Demario Davis, finished it out with last 2 picks. Let's take some upside. Let's just throw a shot in the dark. You know, it's end of the bench. I've filled up her starting lineup with players I think she'd take, and I think I got a bunch of good players. So who do we think has some upside? Let's take a look at Garrett Blount. Was he fantastic last year? I mean, to start the season, he was pretty good. But he only scored like a few touchdowns for the Eagles. But, that was a loaded committee, and he's again in a loaded committee in Detroit. But, his head coach was the New England defensive coordinator a couple years ago when Blount led the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Could he do that again? I don't know. I know he's not going to see the field on passing downs, but if he can vulture some touchdowns, that makes him a good player. That means he's got value. I mean, if you told me this guy's going to rush 5 times a game, but all 5 of those carries are going to be in the red zone towards the goal line, and he's going to score 3 touchdowns, yeah, I'll take that. I don't care I don't care how many carries he gets if they're all near the goal line. So, yeah, if he's a goal line vulturing touchdowns, then let's do it. So that I took LeGarrette Blount. I don't know if he will. I don't know what the role is. There's a lot of guys to sort out, but Blount's a good player. So, and then I finished off with Winston because she usually takes Winston towards the end of the draft. She's done that like 2 of the last 3 years, so I'm just like, screw it. Maybe she'd take Winston. I don't believe him, but maybe she will. So I think that's the pick she'd take. So, all in all, I think this isn't the type of draft I would pick. Let's first get that out of the way. I wouldn't take, she has a starting wide receiver at flex. I don't do that. I wouldn't take 2 wide receivers in the top 3 rounds. I don't do that. I wouldn't take Tom Brady in the 5th round. I don't do that. I wouldn't take a kicker in the 12th round. I don't do that. I wouldn't take Jordan Reed. These are a lot of things I wouldn't do that I did for this team because I figured, really good player might be what Vivian would do. So, Vivian, I don't know if you're going to see this video. I don't know if anyone will see this video, but I really did try to, honestly do what I thought Vivian would do, not what I would do. These aren't players that I love. Some of them I like. I do like. Some of them I do love, but they're not all players that I love. They're not players I was targeting. They're not players that, I tried to be honest to the board, but also be honest to, what I really thought Vivian would do. And if I had to give it a grade, I don't I think this team is very solid. I'm happy this team has some good depth. I think I did a pretty good job on the back end with the depth shots, like Devontae Parker, Bilal Powell, Tyler Lockett, Giovanni Bernard. If two or three of those guys can contribute and be a flex for this team half the season, hell, it was worth it. That's great. Awesome. Let's do it. So, like, do I love this team? No. I drafted this team, so I am biased. Do I think this team is excellent? I wouldn't say that either. But, like I gave like Eileen a B minus. I think I would give this team probably like the starting line is pretty good, the depth's pretty good. There's no real star, but it's a solid all around team. It's almost kind of like Max in a way, but I would say Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Tom Brady have much, much more upside than some of Max starters. So it's definitely higher than that. Um, I think it's about average. It's just I'd give it a C, just a straight C. I think it's average. I think the team is good enough to make the playoffs. I think the team needs some work, but I think there's a lot there. I don't think it's as good as what Vivian's draft is, or Eileen's draft is, which is really strange to say because Eileen's draft had an excellent draft and she took a bunch of like really good high upside guys, and obviously I don't think it's as good as like say Jose's or Andre's or Patrick's, who are at the top right now, and I don't think it's as good as maybe Brian's draft. But I think it's average. I think it's a good enough team to really take you places, and I think if with a little work, you can make a playoffs and make some noise. So I don't see the star, but I do see a lot of depth, and I see a lot of depth in the right places, and I do see some potential. So C, it gets a C. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. So I'm not sure when I'm gonna do Robbie's video. We'll see. But yeah, here we go.